So, boat review. If you guys know, I'm helping a friend sell a boat. It is a 2003 Ranger 195 VS with a Mercury 200 HP EFI outboard. We are looking for $13,000 or best offer for this bad boy. It is down in a quiet creek. It is kept in a storage facility in the marina, completely ready to go. It has been done with brand new sea deck. So many new features have been done to this thing. If you guys are interested, it's only $13,000 or best offer. The guy that's selling this boat is really helping me out since, as you guys know, I got laid off and our dog is costing well over $13,000. So he's going to help. If I can help him sell it, he's going to give me a huge chunk of change to help me pay off some of these vet bills because dogs, wives, and children are all blindingly expensive. If you guys are interested in this boat or want to learn more information about it, please message me, fishingthedmv@gmail.com or Facebook or Instagram, and you go check it out. Hey everyone, quick little announcement here from Fishing the DMV. Our Weekend Warrior Club membership on Patreon is nearly full. We only have two more spots still available. Once these spots are gone, they're gone. And I'll be closing down the club membership. All Patreon members will receive 5% off their orders to Jake's Bait and Tackle, 10% off their orders to Tiger Crankbaits, 10% off their orders to Catoctin Creek Rods. You'll also gain access to our private Facebook group community. You'll also be allowed to enter our 5 club membership tournaments only with guarantee payouts. Members only content, ad-free, commercial-free episodes of the podcast, Patreon supporter giveaways, and so much more. And you get all of this for $6 a month, which is less than a pack of Cincos or a jackhammer chatterbait. And since we're under our 10 membership spot, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to give everyone a 10% off their membership if they sign up for the year. So that brings it down to under $65 a year, locked in indefinitely as long as you want to be a member. Again, guys, we only have 2 more spots still available before I make the next announcement on what's going to be going on with Patreon and how people can support the channel. Please, if you're interested and you want to lock in a really cheap rate, go check it out. Link in the episode's description down below. Thank you so much. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Fishing the DMV. I'm your host, Thomas Ahrens, and today we're heading back to one of the coolest little places in Virginia. I think it's becoming a big-time fishing hotspot, which is Fredericksburg, with the man, the myth, the legend, Shane Flint Outdoors. Shane, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Thomas. Really, thanks for letting me come on.
It's crazy. When I first met you, when I first started this podcast, you just started to get going, and I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, you didn't start the tournaments yet. You dabbled, and then, Lord, man, you just went parabolic with everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to dive into these online tournaments. It was a gamble. I put up a few of my own dollars to get it started before we got sponsorship. But it is blown up over the last 3 years. We're on our 4th year of doing them. And we have, like this summer tournament we'll probably have close to 1,000 total anglers that'll be participating in just the summer tournament. Probably around 1,400 anglers across the nation in all of our tournament series that we have throughout the year. So it's been fun. It's been effective, but we're almost to a scale where I'm like, I got to get help. So
I feel you. I had the tournament I just finished up, which was a month long. I say 533 fish caught, which means this guy's got to go in there and check them. I can't believe 1,000 participants.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, there's some efficiencies when you see, now, don't get me wrong, we get that many participants, but I probably get about 45% of those participants turn in fish. And so you don't have to go through a lot. Well, you do have to go through a lot, but the scale comes down when you start seeing 12 and 13 inch fish versus 17 and 18 inch fish, right? So
how does this tournament work that you have about to come up?
So the next tournament we have starts the 28th of June. It's called our 5 bass draw, and that's a nationwide tournament. And the way we work this was we have a 6-week tournament. It's in 2 periods. The first period you have to catch 3 bass. Those 3 bass have to be at least 1 inch apart in length. So, for example, first 3 bass you catch are 17, 18, and 19 inches. Okay, that's your first 3 fish. They count towards your total length for 5 fish. But in the second period, you only have to catch 2 fish. The fourth fish, which is in the first fish in the second period, has to be a 1/2 inch larger than the largest in your in the first period. So in this case, 19 and a half. And then your next bass has to be half inch bigger than this, and then 19 and a half. It can be larger, so 20 and a half. So it's not about how big your fish are. It's about the strategy of which links do you turn in first, and then what links you can catch in the second period. And I will tell you, last year I think it was 877 anglers, and only 22 anglers finished all 5 fish. So it's not easy. It's not an easy tournament. It is really a strategy tournament. That's why it's nationwide. And every year a different state wins. Last year, New York won. The year before, it was Virginia, and the year before that was North Carolina. So it's a strategy tournament for fishing and on what links you want to turn in at what times versus how many big fish you can catch in total length. So it's a fun tournament. I get a lot of people love that tournament because it makes it competitive from Florida to Oregon to New York to California. So.
How do you do just the largemouth, smallmouth spots? Does it matter?
All species of bass, largemouth, smallmouth spot count for the tournament.
Wow. And then how do people enter this event? How much does it cost? Like, how does it go?
It is 100% absolutely free. All you have to do is email me at shaneflintoutdoors@yahoo.com, and you'll get an email from me letting you know you're registered. And then the day prior to the tournament, I'll send you the rules and regulations of the tournament along with your participant code that you have to have visible in every one of the photos that you send in for your catches. It's very simple.
That's wild, dude. I mean, again, I think this is the one thing I've enjoyed about getting into kayak fishing is it's opened my eyes to, I feel like being on the cutting edge is something pretty cool when it comes to fishing with the catch measure, photo release, and then of course, BPT catch weigh release. The technology, man, people don't appreciate, we talk about the live scope side of things all the time. We just beat that dead horse, but this is going to take over more and more of the industry, these style of tournaments.
Yeah, they are. And one of the great things about this tournament, you get to fish any body of water on your own time, right? Wherever you live at. So it doesn't anchor you down to you've got to be here this weekend. It's a 6-week tournament, and you get to do it on your time, at your pleasure. So, and that's one of the great things about it. And the other thing is the flexibility, right? It's not if you don't have a good scale, right? As long as you have a bump board, you're good to go, right? And we always hear, but this is something we've seen in fishing the last few years, the cheaters and all that stuff. It's hard to cheat on a measuring board.
Yeah.
So it levels that as well. So it's not, it kind of eliminates some of the things that we all are concerned about in tournament fishing as well.
What do you think the time horizon is for catch weigh release, like the BPT has, coming down to like a theater near you for us local guys?
I think it's something that it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be organizations are going to look at it and go, it's cheaper and more efficient for us to do it that way versus have all this equipment, all of these tournaments to do these types of events. Or there's got to be some type of, some states are going to have to come in and go, we want to protect our fisheries. And if you would like to come and do a tournament in our state, for example, let's just use Virginia. If you want to do a catch weigh release, no charge, right? You're helping to protect our fisheries and we're helping you save money. But if you want to come in and haul bass back to the boat ramp and, we know what the mortality rate is in some of these tournaments, especially in the summer. You're not helping us protect our fisheries. How about a charge on that, right? To have these events in our state because we need to recover from the event in our fishery. So, once that starts coming in, some of these organizations are going to go, man, we probably should just go to this catch weigh release or length only, whatever they are. But like you said, the technology's there. We should really be thinking about the catch weigh release just to protect the fish and the fisheries. I get it. Especially when I was younger, when I did fish tournaments a lot, I wanted to get up there and hold those big fish up, right? And show my competitors that I did a great job. But at the end of the day, you can do the same thing. It's just, you get to stand up there, your weights are up there. And if you take a picture when you're out there, throw it up on the board, same thing. So I think it's a paradigm shift that we're going to have to get to in the industry. And I think it's right around the corner. It really is.
It is. And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, whether it's Bubba Scales or somebody, they're going to crack the code about how you can do catch weigh release, but then keep it relatively easy so cheating doesn't happen with it. It will come. It's not an if, but when.
Yeah, absolutely. It's coming quick. And I mean, we've already seen it down in Texas. Was it last year at Sam Rayburn? They brought in one. They brought on only their biggest fish.
Mm-hmm. And they do it at Lake Fork every year.
Yeah, Lake Fork. That's what it is, Lake Fork. So we're close, and those are big fisheries. And Lake Fork is designed as a trophy lake, right? It's built. They have been fishing that lake for years and years and been catching giant fish out of there. They know how to protect those fish, and that's one of the reasons they do it that way.
The other thing is just like the money that's saved. I mean, conservation, of course, one thing. Guys, go check out Basscast Radio with Brian. We did an episode with the people that run a lot of the FLW or the Major League Fishing events, and the logistics is crazy. It's like 5 to 6 trailers in the United States that have to service every single BFL, and it's insane. And it's like, if you wipe away all that logistics, how much money is saved that goes back to the anglers? Yep. That's part of it. The other thing is too, and at least with my tournaments, you can fish from the bank, a boat, a kayak, and they're all competing together, which means you have a bigger pool for your events.
That's correct.
Which is more money for the angler. So I don't know, it's interesting. And I think a lot of people, the savvy people, are catching on to like, ooh, this is a thing that's going to be growing bigger and bigger every year.
Yeah, I agree with you, Thomas. And, just like these tournaments I do, they're free. My sponsors have caught on really quick. Free is good. And we will give you free, because the advertisement and things of that nature. So I think it's cyclical, right? It's going to happen. And I don't, the big tournaments are not going to be free. First place in my tournaments, if you win and your Omnia Pro member is $550, which is not bad, but it's not $10,000. I don't think we'll get that in these free tournaments. But I think there's probably some wiggle room in the future where they'll figure out a way to get to that catch, weigh, release or measurement only, something of that nature, and give back to the anglers and take care of the fisheries as well.
How much do you think catch, weigh, release, catch, measure, release will help with conservation? Do you think that would be a big paradigm shift?
Yeah. So I was listening to one of the leading biologists in a podcast just yesterday when I was driving back to Pennsylvania, and they were talking about, the mortality rate depends on temperature, depends on how long fish are in the live well. But on average, their study down, he was out of Texas, it could be up to as high as 35 to 40%, especially in the heat of summer. And just locally here at Lake Mooney, they were complaining about this week, they had a tournament. There were 8 dead bass, all of them weighed over 4 pounds, hanging around the boat ramp, right? Which is not good. That doesn't look good. But if you can save 40%, and the key is most of those fish we're bringing back to the boat ramp are bigger fish, right? Mm-hmm. They're the ones that are replenishing. They're the ones we want breeding. So if you can save 30-40% of those larger fish, that's a good thing, right? So I mean that's quite a bit. The other thing that was very interesting, and we can talk about this a little bit more in depth, but having tournaments during the spawning season, and the amount of time you keep a bass away from a nest after you catch it, it will determine if that bass is going to spawn on that nest again. And the number, very, very accurate scientific study they did, if you keep that bass out of the water, away from the nest for more than 3 minutes, depending on how many gobies and things like that will move in and eat the eggs, that bass will abandon that nest and potentially not spawn. If it's a tournament and they take it all the way back to the boat ramp and let it go at the boat ramp, not going to spawn.
So just to clarify, you're talking about tournaments where it's a catch and put in a live well type, correct?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, during the spawn. So there's a lot of impact. If you could just catch, weigh, and release during the spawn, 2 or 3 minutes out of the live well, they're going to go right back on the nest. Or catch, measure, they're going right back on the nest more than likely. You take them all the way back to the boat ramp, not going to spawn. Right, you're interrupting that spawn cycle. So, a lot of, and like I said, in the heat of the summer, if you bring them all the way back, looks like typically could be as high as 40%, but on average, what I've seen and read is around 30% in the heat of summer. And those are the big fish you want to be living in the lake and reproducing. So, it's going to take time. And one of the things that I've been thinking about hard, and I'm considering it, reaching out to the Virginia Game and Fish and talking about legislation, see if we can get it passed. And maybe in Virginia, during the prime time of the spawn, and I'm just making this dates up, 10 May to 10 April, 10 April to 10 May, catch and release only for largemouth, smallmouth bass in lakes and reservoirs, not in rivers, not in flowing water, but in reservoirs and lakes. Just catch and release during the prime time of the spawn, and then after that, have at it, because we do need to catch. It needs to be a number of fish that need to be kept, and there's a cycle to that, and I'm sure you're well aware of that. There need to be fish taken out of that cycle, especially the smaller ones that are not going to grow. But just to protect the reproduction cycle in the lakes and reservoirs, it'd be great if we could just go fishing, but just catch them and release them for that 30 days, 40 days, whatever that prime time of the spawn is during here in Virginia. And then after that, keep what you need to keep. Have tournaments normal. You can still have tournaments during that time, but make sure they're length only or catch, weigh, release during that time, just to protect those fish during the spawning cycle.
Yeah, at some point, this is going to happen more and more. You see this in Pennsylvania right now. I think Pennsylvania is a little bit too communist with some of their rulings, to where you basically can't have a tournament for 6 months out of the year. It's a nightmare. But it's going to happen. And I do think it's something that has to be worded. You really have to delve into the details of how it is, because you're right. Like that time span of April and May on like a Mooney is critical to keep it healthy. But then if you're talking about a size Toledo Bend or the tidal Potomac, where it's this massive thing, and this is I argue with everybody on the board of Maryland. I think fish kills are bad, but I need to know to have the statistical significance. If we lose 40 fish out of a population of 100, that's terrible. If it's 100,000, that really shrinks that percentage. And that's something that's interesting on these massive bodies of water. We don't know how many bass in the 4-pound range are actually in the tidal Potomac or a Toledo Bend, because it's insanely big. It's like counting sand on a beach. But for them smaller lakes, for smallmouth particularly, because they're very fickly about the spawn, something has to be happening to really protect those areas. Because I think we're going to get into with like Mooney and stuff, these smaller lakes, they can easily be damaged.
Oh, absolutely. And maybe it's an acreage size. Maybe it's 1,500 acres or smaller. You don't catch and release only during the spawn. Maybe it's an acreage, but I do think moving water is different than still water, right?
Yeah.
In the reservoir for sure. But that's something I would like lean into the game and fish and understand. Get that science around that to make sure it makes sense, right? Because Mooney is, and I was just fishing Mooney this morning. 580 acres, and it can be devastated. If something is happening, if it gets 2 spawning cycles out of whack, you're going to see that it's going to impact it. It may not impact it the first year, but you'll see it in year 2, 3, and 4, right? So it's just something to consider. I'm pro tournament. I am pro bass fishing, but I am also extremely pro. Let's keep our waters healthy, keep our bass population healthy, and that's the way I kind of look at it. We want to do what we can do to protect our fisheries for sure.
Well, definitely more to come on that front too, as that develops. And if you need, I can put a link in the future, or we'll get you back on to talk about the legislation if and when that comes.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of Mooney and stuff, it's let's go with that. Like first, how's it been? Because Instagram, all those places, it has blown up. It's really gotten popular in the zeitgeist. There aren't a lot of rules on when you can fish it versus like a Nye or Hunting Run where it's closed on this day, that day. So, I mean, what have you seen so far out of Mooney?
So, unfortunately for the month of March and April, I wasn't fishing. I had a broken leg. So I was out there. Yeah, I broke my leg and I couldn't fish. And man, it stunk not to be able to fish during the prime time of the year, March for sure. But so I got back out there the 1st of May, as soon as the doctor cleared me to be on both legs. And that was post-spawn. And I crushed it out there. I caught a lot of fish, and I've seen a lot more boats. I mean, triple the amount of boats that are out there. And I'll give you an example this morning. I got there at 5:45. I was the 12th boat in the water at 5:45 a.m. The parking lot, when I left at 9:30, I had close to 30 something boats, not counting kayaks. I couldn't tell how many people had kayaks, but there are a lot of kayaks out there too. So there's a lot of traffic on Mooney, but most of the anglers I talked to today didn't catch thing. And the reason is Mooney's not an easy lake to fish. And I've been fishing that lake now for 5 years. If you don't understand the structure, it takes time to understand it. Now, I would say the quality of the fish today, I caught 1/5, and most of them were between 2 and 3 pounds. And I don't think, for the most part, since I've been fishing this year since my leg broke, I have caught primarily 2 to 6 pound bass.
Wow.
The quality of the fish is very high. But the fishing pressure hasn't, in my opinion, now impacted it. Will it? It potentially will in the future, as more and more anglers learn that lake and learn how to fish it. And I'll just admit it right now: if you're not live scoping on Mooney, you're not going to have as much success, because it is a big body of water. It's really deep. It's got different type of angles on the bank, a lot of deep cover, and it helps you a lot to have. You don't have to have it, but to be more successful, live scope is something that you want to be utilizing on Mooney for sure.
How is the blueback/herring population this year on the lake? Because I've heard different stories.
Yeah, that's interesting. So yes, did we have a kill off? Yes, we did. I will tell you, since I've been back on the water, I have just seen schools and schools and schools of schools. They are bounced back. They have bounced back pretty well. And that's the secret sauce. The two secret sauces of Mooney: good water quality.
Mm-hmm.
You got good water quality. You got Rappahannock flow coming in because it's a water reservoir, and then they got a lot of bait fish. It's alewi is what they call them in the lake. Very healthy population, and that's why you catch these football-sized 5-pound bass, right? So it's in good shape. It is getting a lot of pressure, but I don't see it being impacted that much over the next year or two. There's a lot of good fisheries in this area.
How have the grass carp, I guess the last thing about Mooney, grass carp, and then the aquatic vegetation on Mooney, how's that battle going?
So a lot of grass this morning. It's just complaints of fishermen. I'm just going to say it like this. Mm-hmm. One of the boaters came up and said, "Can you believe there's no grass in here?" I was like, I hold my line, my bait up, and I got grass hanging off of it, right? So this year is a little cooler than last year. Last year was warmer water. Yeah. It's taken a while to warm up this year. The grass is coming in. It's not coming in as fast as it did last year. It's got to do with water temperature. It's coming in. And now 3 years ago, it was so thick you couldn't fish hardly. Mm-hmm. It was very bad. In the last 2 years, it's been pretty good. It'll be good this year. It should have been slower to come in, and the grass is coming in. The coontail moss was there today, good. So it's there.
Yeah, guys, as we talk about, it's about the habitat thing. One of the lakes that I just fell in love with because of past year's success. If you have a lot of shoreline habitat, you'll have a shoreline bite. This is not rocket surgery here. Nope. But if you have none of that, they will school. They will be offshore, and then you can complain about the live scope. And that kind of leads us into no fish nigh. I love how rumors get started, and that becomes the gossip for a couple of years until it's proven wrong. And hopefully I helped prove that myth is a fallacy, because that place is fun.
It is. It's a great lake. You got lily pads, you got shallow. It's a great lake all around. I haven't had a chance to get out there this year, but I will pretty soon, actually very soon, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow it's closed, so maybe Saturday. But it's a great lake, and it's got good habitat. It's got really good habitat. And I've been successful out there. Actually, Nye is a lake. There's a few lakes I can say I've never been skunked on. I've never been skunked on Nye. I've never been skunked on Mooney. And I've never been skunked on Hunting Run. I can throw some lakes I have been skunked on. But those 3 lakes, and for me, have been very, very productive over my time here fishing in Virginia. But you're absolutely right. Everybody, when I first got here, was like, "Why are you going to No Fish Nye? There's no fishing." Mm-hmm. So, but the weekend, there's a club called the Weekend Anglers of Fredericksburg. I think they're electric only. When I see their totals of 18 and 19 pounds, that proves that there's fish in there when they do their tournaments there.
And that place is where, if you wanted to build a lake, that's the template you use. I love the aerators to keep oxygen, the shad healthy in the summertime. You'll have a schooling bite there, but there's so much. if you have shoreline habitat, it just makes everything better. And this is like one of the few lakes that has the standing tules or water weeds. It has lily pads, which again, I'm gonna get Hallaker on the phone again at WR. It's like, why more lakes like Lake Frederick or Mooney? Why can't you introduce lily pads? It gives the bluegill a place that they can spawn. It's great shoreline habitat, and it's not going to become as invasive as, like, let's say, hydrilla. And yeah, it spreads people out. When I practiced for that event, Fredericksburg Angler Club had a tournament, and there were people pre-fishing, and everyone was spread out because there's so many places. It's a target-rich environment, which is fascinating to me. I will say, once I get my unemployment figured out and my nonprofit becomes official, that is one boat ramp I'm going to help with, because God, wow, that's a nightmare.
It's absolutely horrible. That is the one. Matter of fact, that's the one negative for me going in there, because I have to get wet.
Yeah.
For me in my boat, I have to get wet for sure. So, and I don't mind it in the summertime. In the wintertime, I got hip waders, but it's like, you're going to get in the water.
Yeah, it's crazy how poorly designed that place was. But yeah, guys, go check that place out. Another lake on my bucket list I have to fish is Abel, which that's an interesting little one, at least from what friends have told me about. Have you had any experience there?
Oh man, that's where I started at. Abel's 8 minutes from my door.
Oh, wow.
I fish that lake a lot. I've caught a lot of big fish on Abel. Before I started YouTube, I've still caught a lot of big fish on there since I've been on YouTube. But I call that my home lake, because when I just want to go tinkering around with something and figure something out, throw a new top water or something, I go to Abel. Abel is a good lake. It is really tough to learn, though, because you got to understand it's a very narrow lake. It's very steep. It's very deep, but it has some humps, has some points, and it has some underwater structure. If you know where that's at, you can be very successful. It's long. The places where you want to fish are about 2 miles of running up to the other, which would be the south end of the lake from the boat ramp. But there's some places in the north end that you can catch fish. There's the bluffs. I usually do pretty good on the steep rocky banks, but it's got a lot of trees falling down, so it's got some good habitat. People get frustrated because, it's steep banks, not a lot of things to look at, to throw at. Bass anglers, we have the tendency we're object fishermen, right? On the surface, there's a tree, let's throw at a tree. Not a lot of objects to throw out. You've got to understand the underwater landscape on Abel. But I will say this, and I've said this many times, there's a state record in Abel. There's a state record in Abel. I've seen a bass 2 years ago. I couldn't get her to bite. Had to be 15 pounds or bigger.
Good God.
I could not get her to bite. I fished for that girl for 35, 45 minutes before I just gave up. She finally swam away. She was on the bed. So, big bass. And that lake, I think that lake is 65 years old.
That's crazy.
That's an old lake.
Mooney's the youngest one, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it opened in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. 2017 or 2018.
That's insane turnaround then for that place to be pumping out what it's doing. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the first year I fished there in 2020, I caught 2 sevens. And that's in 4 years. I mean, that's crazy to catch fish that. I mean, we're catching 7 and 8 pound bass pretty consistently out there. I think it's amazing to me. On average, I caught a 5 pounder this morning. I usually catch 1 or 2 5 pounders every time I go out, which that's almost res type quality numbers.
I got to get you out on the res once. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. I don't know if your project is up and running yet for the public, but yeah. And then we have the old guard again. We're just gonna start busting fishing rumors here, which is Hunting Run. It's dead. Just landfill it and just be done with it. Is the kind of the rumor on the street.
Yeah. So that's crazy. I do think there's a lot of new fishermen are going in there and trying to figure that lake out. I mean, just last year I caught a dirty 30 there. I caught a 9, an 8, a 7, a 6. In 1 year those fish don't disappear. And then in July I caught 2 9-pounders last year. Now I've only fished it once because I had a broken leg. When I went and fished it on opening day, I caught 2 5-pounders. I mean, come on. If you can go out and catch 2 5-pounders in a lake, the lake's not dead. But from what I hear, it is a lot of new anglers going in there trying to learn the lake, and they're getting frustrated with it. And I've even had people comment on some of my old videos out of Hunting Run and go, "There's no fish in there anymore." They just don't disappear overnight. So I'm not going to say it's dead, make it a landfill yet. I will get out there in the next few weeks and see what we can do. July for me on Hunting Run is a hot month. On a hair jig, on a deep diving crankbait, and on top water, I crush them out there. So we'll see how dead it is when I get out there in July.
Now I gotta ask, like, so were you doing spelunking? How did you break your leg?
It was just a freak. I was walking outside my studio on the March the 1st. It was pouring down rain, and I slipped on my stamped sidewalk concrete and snapped my fibula. Yeah. It was, and here's what's crazy, and I'm going to tell this on a podcast here. I fell. I hit my head as well, and I think it went unconscious because it was on cement. My wife was not home. She was traveling for the government. Pouring down rain, I stood up to walk into the house, and I couldn't walk. So I had to low crawl all the way up the hill into my house, up 3 flights of stairs. And I woke up the next morning, there was a mud trail all the way up. Yeah, I just got in bed. And then the next morning I was like, it's broke. So just a freak accident, And by the way, it sucks breaking your leg at 53. So
I can't imagine. So assuming things are then fine, did you have to get pins put in it and stuff, or how are you feeling?
I was very fortunate. Very fortunate. It was just a slight fracture of the fibula. It was what they call a closed fracture. So no pins, no surgery. I was just off of it for basically 2 months, and it healed up. So.
Dude, that's wow. That's scary.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're back. We're going to really be able to dabble into these fisheries now, which is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, what other lakes in the area? I think we covered. Oh, Motts, that's the one. What is this place? What is it? Because we have it on our schedule every year, and I look at it, and it's just like it doesn't speak to you when you look at it on a map, I guess.
It doesn't. And from what I understand, it's a sleeping giant. Last year they did a tournament in June, and a 9.8 was caught in Motts, 9 pounds, 8 ounce bass. And that just doesn't grow by accident. And because it's more of an entertainment lake, it's right there in Fredericksburg. It gets a lot of traffic, a lot of, people you can rent boats there like at Hunting Run, but a lot more people go to Motts. So it drives anglers away from doing, typical fishing. Now, the Weekend Fredericksburg group, they hold their, I think it's their kids tournament there every year. There's not a lot of tournament pressure on there. I will be on Motts real soon. I think it's Nye and then Motts. I want to see if it's true that it's got big fish in it. I believe it does, but it doesn't get a lot of heavy angler pressure. It's more of just locals going and throwing your bobber and worm type of fish in there. It's just a lot of traffic on that lake because it's right in Fredericksburg. So,
That's fascinating stuff, guys.
Yeah,
wow.
But I hear it's good. It's like a sleeping giant. And there's 2 other lakes, and I think we've talked about this in the past, that we have Smith Lake, which is on Quantico Marine Base, and you can get a pass to go on to Quantico Marine Base. That one it doesn't get a lot of press, and I know I'm letting out a secret here. Bigs in there. A lot of good fishing in there, and of course the one that just Lunga, which opened last year. There is no giants that got away. It is heavily fished now. Lunga is heavily fished. Everybody last year was like, there's going to be 12, 15 pound bass because it wasn't fished for 15 years. That's not true. That's not how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, a couple few 7 and 8 pounders came out of there, but good quality, just a good quality lake to fish is Lunga. And Smith that's another one that doesn't get a lot of press, but it's got a good population of that 4 to 6 pound largemouth in there.
And both are on the marine base, correct?
Both are on the marine base, and you can get a pass to go in there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've always had this hypothesis that if you had Elon money and you built reservoirs, the template really is Frederick versus building one 20,000 acre lake, because the pressure diversification, so to speak, where I feel like it's impossible for every lake in Fredericksburg to get equally pressured every Saturday because
Right.
of Instagram and social media. Is there any validity to that hypothesis?
I definitely think that is true. And just Mooney's a great example, right? Mooney's popped up and everybody is seeing big fish caught on Mooney. And I had never seen a boat ramp this full since I've been fishing for the last 5 years. That's going to draw away from the hunting runs. That's going to draw away from the Lungas and the other lakes in the area. So I really do think you're not going to get equal pressure across all the lakes. They're going to flock to where they think the best fishing is at the time, and then that'll dissipate. And every year that's going to change, and I'm okay with that, right? I'll be the first to raise my hand and say, yes, I'm a little bit guilty of this because I'm a YouTuber, but I get accused all the time of ruining Lake Mooney. You ruin the lake, you let the secret out. I was like, it's not a secret. It's public water.
Yeah, SB, Lunker Hunter. I mean, it's everyone can take some blame, but again, it's hunting run, no fish nigh. Like these places, Abel, they don't get hit, and then what will happen is they'll have their time, and people will leave Mooney because Mooney will get the reputation of like it sucks, and then it heals. And I think that's fascinating because there will always be a hot lake then in Frederick, which is cool. So it'll always be a cool fishing destination.
Yeah, speaking of Abel, a couple of years ago when I can't remember the high voltage club. They used to have a high voltage club. McCluskey went to Abel and won the annual event off Abel, and he had like 20 pounds, and the next closest was 3 or 4 pounds. It was crazy, but he understood that lake, Abel. He understood the underwater features of it and did real well. It's just interesting. It won't be long before you won't be able to park your boat at Abel. I think that's coming. I think that's coming next.
Oof, man, that is some choice words, guys. So, I mean, there you guys have it. That's kind of like the synopsis of Fredericksburg. It's a really, really cool place. Tons of fishing opportunities. I mean, heck, we got the Rappahannock too, which is its own thing. Go check out the fish report I did with the biologist about that. That place is neat. Frog fishing paradise, snakehead, and of course smallmouth as well. What do you have coming up? Anything else that you have coming up and going on in your life?
Well, I like I said, I got the new tournament coming out, our free tournament, which we already mentioned. But one of the big things I got coming out real soon, probably the middle of July, you're going to see me in a brand new boat.
Boom.
So I'm having a new 18-foot customized aluminum bass boat, all decked out by Matt Downs at Trick Tins. The build is already on his YouTube channel. It's in phase 2. We just got all the decking done. It's going to be a great boat. Matt is doing a great job. 2 rod lockers, live. It's got everything you can think of in that boat. I'm getting custom CNC cut sea decking on it. This is going to be my lifetime boat. So I'm going to put as much into it as I can. It's going to be all electric because I like fishing the reservoir. That's my thing. But it's going to be. It's called the Shockwave. And when it gets done, I can't wait to get you on that boat. So.
What is and then you're going to get into it here. I'm assuming you'll do a video about it. But how long has this been coming? This dream.
So I came up with this idea last summer after watching Matt do a couple of boats. I was like, I wanted my own custom boat. So I reached out to Matt back in August and I said, I had a boat that I had an idea to get to. He goes, don't get that boat. He goes, if you're going to get a boat, go ahead and buy a weld-build boat. And they're built in Arkansas. He works with those exclusively and knows how the structure of them where he can modify things as he needs. So I bought the boat. It arrived in September. He told me it's going to be about 6 months before he could get started on it. So if you are going to do one with Matt, it takes a while. It's not instant, right? And I ended up ordering the new Garmin Kraken trolling motor, which is freaking awesome, with the live scope built into it.
Oh.
And by the way, when you push spot lock on that motor, you know how your spot lock spins around on your Minn Kota? It just stays still, and the prop reverses. Goes forward and reverse. Really genius stuff. So I went ahead and I got the best trolling. Since this is the boat of my lifetime, I got the best trolling motor at the time on it. The Kraken, which has a wireless foot pedal as well. I said, so do what you can do with it, Matt. And he's done a great job. He delivered it in September, and he started cutting on it about the middle of April.
Cannot wait to see that, dude. Yeah, the trolling motor thing, man. Can't wait for a review of that trolling motor. That sounds really, really cool.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I do regret, I bought a Elco motor, and I shouldn't say regret's the wrong word. I did the math on my outboard motor, and it's between a 20 horsepower and a 14 horsepower Elco. It's a 48 volt motor, and I went with the 14. And the reason I went with the 14, I can get 2 hours of full throttle runtime on it, but I can only do 8 miles per hour. And I was like, with the 20 horsepower, I can do 8.8 miles per hour, which sounds ridiculous, but I can only run an hour and 40 minutes. So, you know, I've been trying to tell myself, you were right. You want to run longer full throttle versus shorter full throttle. So
yeah, when do we get the Tesla battery thrown into a boat? Because that's what you need, honestly.
Yeah. And when they come, if I can afford it, I'm putting it in the boat. I'm just like any other fisherman, man. I want the best thing that's out there.
Hey, dude, but yeah, where you live, man, or if you want to go down to I'm trying to get somebody on to talk about Norfolk, because that's like a state secret, all those lakes. No one wants to talk about them, but your boat's perfect for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, once I get that boat done, I'm going to be branching out for sure. It's easy for me. Like these lakes that we talk about, Mooney, Hunting Run, Nye, Motts, they're all within 20 minutes. Abel's within 10 minutes of my house. These are all within 20, 25 minutes of my house, which makes living where I live remarkable because of the fishing and I can get to those lakes. But I want to branch out quite a bit once I get the new boat built, because I'll have the thrust I need to move on larger bodies of water, and I'll have a much bigger boat. I can take people with me. My front deck on this new boat is 11 foot long. So you will be standing on the front deck with me, Thomas, when we're fishing together.
My God, that is, dude. I cannot wait for that video when it comes out, guys. Again, link in the episode description to everything we talk about. What platforms are you on right now?
So YouTube, obviously Facebook and Instagram. So reach out to me at Shane Flint Outdoors. Appreciate the follow. I try to put out a weekly content video. If not, I do live feeds updating the tournaments on every Wednesday night at 8:30 when those tournaments are going on, or I put out new content fishing here in the local Fredericksburg area.
And then one more time for everyone listening, when does your tournament start, and how do people, if they want to join, how do they do that?
So the Summer 5 Bass Draw starts on 28 June. It's 6 weeks long. All you have to do is 100% free. All you have to do is email me at shaneflintoutdoors@yahoo.com, and I'll send you an email letting you know you're registered. Right after our summer tournament, though, is our smallmouth only tournament, and that kicks off, I think, the 2nd of August. So if you're entering it, it's a 4-week tournament, smallmouth only, anywhere in the United States. That's really a blast, too. I had about 200 anglers in it last year. So if you're interested in smallmouth only, that will follow the Summer 5 Bass Draw.
Guys, as always, link in the episode description to everything that we talked about. Please go check out that tournament. If you guys like to, please come help support me on Patreon. Right now, you are literally paying my mortgage, so I cannot thank everyone enough right now in this little bit difficult time. And yeah, guys, more stuff coming here as we get into the dog days of summer in July, and we will see you guys next time on Fishing the DMV. Bye. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.